Hi, Ali. Thank you so much for accepting my invitation. It is a pleasure to have you as my guest. And I'm looking forward to hearing your story with social media. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
Good, actually, very good. I'm really excited to record this podcast episode because it is actually my first video episode. Until now, we've only recorded audio, so a little bit nervous, but looking forward. Yeah. Okay, so let's start this podcast episode by getting to know you a little bit better. How would you describe yourself in a few words?
Well, I'm Alli and I'm from Galway I live in Galway in Ireland. I think I'm outgoing. Love socializing, meeting new people. I love going to the cinema and reading. I'd say I'm a very organized person, which kind of helps in the job. Love talking, love meeting new people and love being out and about.
I think this is the most important skill of a social media manager, right? To be social and to like being surrounded by people. Okay, how did you start your career? Have you always worked in social media or was it something that happened accidentally? Can you walk us through your past roles?
No, I didn't always work in social media. It kind of was like a happy accident. So I studied a course called Gael Goggins Irish, which is Irish and Journalism University. So when I finished that, I went to work for the state broadcaster, RTE, in RTE Lifestyle. So it was online journalism for RTE.ie. And then, so I was still based in Dublin. I'd studied in Dublin. And then one day when I was going to work, I had a DM on Twitter from somebody in Galway who had found my profile and a video I'd made. And it was Loretta, my now boss. And she asked me, was I based in Galway? And I said, no, I wasn't. And then she said, would I meet for coffee? And I said, yes, I would. So I came to Galway one weekend and met her for coffee. And she offered me a job. And I moved to Galway and I've been here, I'm nearly 4 years here now. So I'm about 4 years in social media, but I kind of always had an interest in it. I was never officially my job, but even when I was working in online journalism, there was a part of social media to it. But no, kind of learned on the job and kind of short courses since university.
Now, I know that a lot of people, especially those who don't work in this industry, think that a social media manager job is easy and all you have to do is scroll through social media platforms all day long. And I know for a fact that this is not true because I've spoken to a lot of social media managers until now. And I know that this is a complex job. So let's debunk this myth together by telling us, what does your day-to-day schedule look like?
I don't really have a set schedule. That's the first thing. Every day is very different. So we work in an agency, so we have a number of clients, and some of them are long-term clients we work with all year round, and then there's shorter-term clients where we might work with them for a certain campaign or for a certain length of time. So it depends on what I'm working on. Like at the moment, we're really busy. We've quite a few campaigns live at the moment, so there's a lot of posting, a lot of community management, a lot of some days we're doing proposals for new clients, some days we're doing reports at the end of a campaign, some days I'm doing a strategy training. As part of our agency, we offer training to our clients, so on social media strategy, that type of thing. And all our clients are a little bit different. They're all in the same niche, so most of the clients we serve are in the Irish arts, language, culture, or festivals. There's a couple of outliers, so largely they all do something kind of similar, but their needs are all very different, and the way in which we work with them, some of them, it's for advertising, some of them it's more organic, some like it really depends. So having really a day-to-day schedule, but I am organized. So at the start of the week, I do like to kind of know what's coming for the week ahead and kind of work around it. But that's part of the reason I love the job as well, is because there isn't a set schedule every week. It's different things. And now with restrictions lifting, definitely in Ireland anyways, there's more events back. So we've had a couple of, brand relaunches and a couple of like in-person events, which is always exciting to be back out and about, meeting people again and out with the office.
Yeah, I can imagine. It's definitely not a boring job. That's for sure.
It is not.
Yeah. This is the answer I kept hearing the most, actually, that there isn't a set schedule to a day-to-day life in a social media manager's job. it's so unpredictable, and things move so fast, and trends appear overnight, and algorithms change, so every day is different. Because you mentioned social media campaigns earlier, and actually I have a question regarding social media campaigns. Can you tell us what is that social media campaign that you are most proud of?
I like loads of campaigns for different reasons, but one of my favorites was it was actually during COVID. The President of Ireland turned 80, and at the time we were working with one of the state broadcasters, Chichi Cahir, who were the Irish language broadcaster in Ireland, and they had a program to celebrate the president's birthday, but we did the social media campaign around it. So it ended up being a really big UGC, or user generated content campaign, because obviously with COVID there was no party, but we kind of brought it online. So it was a hashtag campaign Michael G80, and we worked with the president's office and the producers of the show and lots of people, and we kind of picked people from all around Ireland and the world and got them to record themselves, wishing the president a happy birthday. And yeah, it was a really nice campaign, especially during COVID. I also love the ones being out and about. We do work with the Galway Film Fleadh every year, the film festival in Ireland. And like last year they had a festival garden down in one of the parks locally. And I love things like that as well. But yeah, I like them all for different reasons.
Yeah, they all sound very, very nice. And I like that you have diversity, because you told me earlier that most of your clients are in the art industry somehow, but you also manage the campaign for the president. So that is quite exciting. Can you tell us what are the steps of setting up a social media campaign? Because we as users, we see it, right, on Instagram, on Facebook, but we don't know what is behind that social media campaign.
Yeah, like typically, somebody will come to us and, they'll want to work with us. Some people are really certain in what they want to achieve with us. Maybe they've already started on a strategy and they just want to implement. Other people come with a vague idea of what it is they're trying to promote or achieve. So usually we start with like our discovery call, where we kind of talk it out and help them to realize maybe what their KPIs or their key performance indicators are, what it is they're actually trying to achieve, who their audience are, and we talk out that. Then we come up with a proposal. So this is how we think we would best serve you to reach your audience and achieve whatever it is you want to achieve. So there's, we work on that side of it. Then once we've kind of nailed that part, we start looking at an actual, all very budget dependent on, but like content creation. So we're a full service agency. So for some of our clients, it would be video production or, stills photography or graphic design. So we start thinking of how that actually is going to look. Even before that, usually there's an audit of their existing online presence. So we gain access to all their existing channels if they already exist, if they're not just being set up. And we look at what are they doing already, what are they doing well, where they could improve, so that everything is brought up to a standard before we come in. And then we kind of look at where they perform best, where their audience are, and then we mark our content and the seeding of our content to match their brand. So then we come up with like the content calendar, which is a glorified Excel sheet that keeps us all organized and keeps the client knowing what's going on. Because some of our clients, while we're working on a campaign, they might also be posting about other things. Some of the clients, we're working on a certain part of their business, but the rest of the business is still there. And then the action starts, even though Mairead in the office, who does all the setup and the back end and the pixels and the gaining access to business managers, would tell me there's a lot more complicated stuff before we go live. But then we go live for whatever set amount of time, whatever timeline we've proposed in our proposal. And we monitor. So we do all the community management, because it's one thing posting, but when we work with a client, it's important, like as social media managers, that they maintain their social presence online and the engagement with their audience. So we kind of take over usually, and that will last anything from like a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, few months. And then at the end, and we pivot as we go. That's the thing with social, like you have to just keep an eye on the analytics and kind of move to what's working and double down on things and not just stay going with it because it was already in the plan. And as you said, new trends come. Like I always think when Instagram Reels dropped, like it was really important to be there. So like, I mean, that probably wasn't in any of our plans at the time because they dropped pretty quickly. And then it's just working that into our content pillars and working it into our content plans. And then at the end, when our client is all happy and we've achieved our KPIs, hopefully, and we present a report, and that's the campaign in a short. It's there's probably a lot more to it than that, but that's the bare bones of it.
Wow, that's pretty complex, and it's a long-term process for sure. Because you mentioned happy clients, and I'm sure this is your objective as an agency, right? To make your clients happy. How do you manage client relationships? I know that this is one of the most talked about topic in the agency sphere.
I think it's like every relationship, it's just good communication. So I would think as an agency, we're quite honest and approachable. So I mean, we're not somebody who lies to our clients about what we're going to do. We're quite upfront, and things happen, we keep them, we don't panic them, but we do keep them in the loop of what's going on, and that kind of constant communication. Like some of our clients where we're more full on, we'd be talking to them every day during their campaign or every second day. Like we've a constant line of communication where they can reach us within office hours, unless it's an emergency. But like, we'd have weekly meetings with our clients. They're welcome to contact us if they have any issues. Try to iron them out as they happen. I mean, they don't happen all that often, but not to let it bubble. And then just to work through it and work out. It's kind of like any relationship. It's just kind of keeping communication open and honest, and keeping them updated on what's going on, because ultimately they're paying us for a service. So it's just, to help them understand how we're servicing them, and for them to trust us, because, for some people, giving away their social channels and their brand is a pretty big deal if they've never done it before. So, outsourcing to an agency is not that easy for people who are used to being in control of everything.
Yeah. I think this is the key to every relationship, as you said, and setting clear expectations from the beginning, right? And in this case, nobody is going to be disappointed.
Yeah.
But like you said, not all relationships can be rainbows and sunshines, right? So what do you do in case a client is not satisfied with the results, with the KPIs, with what you delivered? How do you manage that?
We're kind of lucky it doesn't happen too often, but I suppose, like, as an agency, as we grow as well, like, it's integral that we kind of keep our integrity and like the reason people come to us. So we are careful to only bring in clients when we can 100% service them. So like we do have to say no to a lot of work, and sometimes work we'd really enjoy, but we have to talk ourselves as a team. And if we don't believe we can give it 100%, we either have to tell them that, or just say, maybe another time, or, try quarter three, we're a bit more, we've a bit more space there. So we're lucky we kind of manage it on the inside, so it doesn't really usually happen. But I mean, if it happens, and sometimes it does, but I think we always over deliver anyway. So even if we were to miss a KPI, it's not that they've achieved nothing. Maybe they haven't achieved that particular KPI with their campaign, but they would have achieved a lot more, because any campaign I've worked on and any campaign I've seen in the agency since I arrived, like, we go above and beyond the proposal usually. So it's kind of like an acceptance. And I don't think we ever promise. I think it's about the way you say it to your client. Like, I mean, when you write your proposal, you're proposing that we think this will help you to gain whatever it is, your KPI, but we can't promise it. Well, like, you can give us all the money in the world to spend on ads, but we can't promise that the people will buy, because things happen, ad prices go up, buying trends change, wars happen, pandemics happen, like we can't control that. So I think it's about the way you phrase it to the client as well in that start. Like, you never overpromise, like, because I think when people go out there and they're like, I can double your revenue by 50%, I'm like, okay. But I think it's about more making them understand the value they have got, or the value they're getting.
Yeah. This all comes back to communication at the end of the day, as you said before. Yeah. And I think a very important lesson is also to say no, as you said, especially as someone that busy, as a social media manager who is busy, you have to set boundaries. I think it's very healthy. I have a question that I'm particularly curious about. I actually did a study regarding the lives of social media managers, where I polled over 300 marketers and took 11 interviews. And when I asked them about their main challenges, publishing engaging content was the main thing that came up. So I was wondering, where do you find inspiration for your content, your campaigns? I think it's extremely challenging to come up with new ideas when everything has been said and done.
Yeah, I think we're lucky we have a really creative team, like the creative personalities. We're a creative agency, so naturally, like the employees are creative, which helps.
Mhm.
And I think all of us, like we're all interested in like the arts. Two of us have kind of a media background, so by our nature, we're very curious people. Um, like where do I get inspiration from? Like things I see, places I go, books I read, films I see, and what other people do, not even in the same industry. And I think that's something that came up a lot at Social Media American World this year. It's about, even on TikTok, people are like, how do you, what do you know what to post on TikTok? And they were like, look at other industries and see what they're doing. So maybe as a social media manager, I'll see something that someone in the real estate industry is doing. And I'm like, oh, how would that apply to what our niche? So it's just kind of like keeping your eyes open, trying new things. And I think like naturally the best social media managers or agencies are innovative because, social media changed so fast, technology's changed so fast. So I think having the opportunities to try new things, that kind of helps with the inspiration, and it kind of allows you to do new things that you haven't done, or things you've done but in a new and different way you haven't tried yet.
Definitely. Yeah, you can find inspiration anywhere, from everywhere, as you said. So because finding inspiration is not necessarily one of your main struggles, what would you say are your main challenges that you face at your job?
I suppose, like, by its nature, social media is kind of like an always on thing, like it's not really, even though we typically work 9 to 5, except when we've, other things on, it's that kind of that boundary thing of, especially some people who work 24/7 kind of expect that you would do that, but there's a certain amount you can have to do, and then you have to like draw your boundary, like there's always more you could be doing, like you could always be doing more, but you have to like manage time, manage expectations, and be realistic. Like, of course, you could be on your phone all night doing community management, but you have to do it in a more structured way when it's your job, or otherwise you'd be working 24/7.
Yeah. And we all know those memes, right? With social media managers working nonstop in their weekends, during holidays. So yeah, this is an extremely important lesson. Now, what skills do you think are required to be successful in your job?
I think good organization, especially if you manage multiple clients or multiple projects or different timelines. I think being organized helps. I think being creative helps because, you are always trying to reinvent the wheel. Everyone, like, it's such a busy space, like online is really busy, and trying to draw people's attention, get people's attention and keep it is a challenge, especially now. But like TikTok, where literally you watch it with your finger on the screen, like you scroll unless somebody gets your attention now. So I think being creative helps. I think a curiosity, like I think like a lot of our work, and like on busy weeks maybe it's harder to do, but a massive amount of our work is in like research and like not studying, but it's really important to keep up with what's going on. And like that's why we go to things like Social Media American World, because it's really important as the agency people are trusting for their marketing that we're innovative and learning and ahead of the curve, and bringing them the new things. So I think you have to have a natural curiosity and a hunger to learn, because you're always learning. Like even if you're not at a conference, like from newsletters, other marketers, podcasts, news articles, reports, like there's so much out there, but there's, it's really important that you make the time to stay on top, because that's what makes you stand out. And that's kind of why people hire an agency instead of doing it themselves.
Yeah, definitely. I 100% agree with all that you said. Now, this podcast episode is coming to an end. And the question that I love to ask my guests is, if you could teach me 3 things about social media, what would you teach me?
I think pricing, like things I've learned that I never really thought about. Like you can learn everything, but I think as you make a career out of social, because like there's so many creators out there, like social media is full of creators, most of whom have a normal day job, and that's just what they, they're creators on the side, or they're but yeah, you can't really teach it to someone, but given their skill, like their skills that are hard product, you add up the labor cost and all it. But when you're selling yourself, the value on all the learning we do. So like, you know, we need to price that into all our, what we give back. So it's not just about hours, it's about your expertise as well. And there's different ways of pricing. I mean, we sometimes price different ways, depends on clients, or we've retained our clients and we've not retained our clients. And for different services, we charge differently. But that's something, I suppose, when I came in, you kind of never realized, because I suppose I'd worked for a state broadcaster, which is just funded, you know, by the government, and I'm not really involved in the finance part of it. So the way you propose and value the work you do, the time you give and the expertise you have, I think that's really essential if you're going to be a social media manager. So it's not really a social media skill, but it definitely is part of the job. Not really the nice part when you want to be creative and creating content all the time, but necessary if you want to make money. For me, as someone organized content calendars, everyone has their own way of making a content calendar. I personally still love a spreadsheet, color coded, but just that level of organization. Also, sometimes when you have it visually in front of you, it keeps you on track, because that's the hardest thing, is like, okay, I've proposed this and I want to deliver this, but sometimes there's so much distractions. It's like keeping it there in front of you visually. And with some of our clients, they'd be on our content calendar, so it also allows them to see what you're doing day to day, like what you're actually charging them for when you're working. And then I think the third one is just like a confidence and self-belief, because there's a lot of people out there in the industry, and like you said, like it's hard to be different. It's like, but if you really do believe in what you do, and like I believe what we have in Lorg is different to what anybody else has. Like there's loads of agencies, but I don't really see them as competitors, because like what we offer isn't the same. And actually, what I love in like places like America is like when you go over there, or even the UK, they're really collaborative. They all really trust in themselves and their own brand and what they do. So they're not competitive. Like they don't feel like they're in competition with each other. They're willing to help each other and see how they can collaborate, come together. And there is some of that in Ireland. It's a smaller industry. But even in Galway, like we've got to know, you know, some of the website guys and another agency. There's an agency just down the road who do like SEO and Google ads. That's their speciality. We do a little bit of that, but they're not our competition. We're actually working together on a client at the moment, you know. So I think it's like, if you can get to a place where you've strong self-belief and like, you know, you realize your value and what you're doing, it's a really nice place to get, because then, you know, you trust what you do, like you're confident selling to your clients, and you're not in competition with everyone around you, because you're just pushing on with your unique selling point and like what it is you do well.
Yeah. This is all really nice, and I think these are all important lessons for social media managers who just started this job, maybe, especially your lesson about pricing. I think this is the one that people tend to avoid talking, especially in public.
I'm terrible. Like I feel like I shouldn't even be giving this advice about money. But I think it's more just getting to a place where you're really comfortable and you trust, you know, the value you put on yourself. And the thing you realize, like as you know, put your prices up or you grow, is like the people who want to work with you will still work with you.
Exactly.
The value in you, and you don't really need to work with the people who don't. So yeah, easy to say when I don't own the agency. But, yeah, easy to say.
Yeah, it's a learning process, but yeah, as you said, you know your value best, right? You know what you can deliver. So you have to set clear expectations from the beginning, definitely. Now, what are your future plans, and where can people find you and follow you?
What are my future plans? Today I'm getting ready to give a training, and one of our clients is coming into the office. They're from Galway, so they're coming in for a full day's training on strategy and social media. So I'm getting ready for that. For the next, like we're really busy, which is like really exciting, and we've loads of really nice projects, and we're growing the team, which is exciting. Festivals are coming back this summer, which is really nice after the couple of years we've had, and you know, in-person events. And where can you find us? Well, if you're in Ireland, you can find us in Galway on Dominic Street. And if you're not in Galway, we're most active probably on Instagram. It's Lorg, LORG_media. But we're also on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, all the usual places. And we have a website, lorgmedia.ie. So any of the above.
I will link your socials in the episode details. That's awesome. And congrats on your next projects. I'm looking forward to see what you will deliver. I'm sure you guys will do a great job. And thank you so much for this conversation. It was a pleasure. And I learned so much.
Oh, well, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you once again, and talk to you soon.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.